Okay, Nico, let's get into the third of the Group 1s on Saturday at Flemington. It's the Empire Rose Stakes. For the mares, 1,600 metres, points bet market. Well, favourite is obviously Fang Girl, ahead of Pride of Jenni, and then we sort of go out to a horse called Idle Flyer, and then you've got like a Lucy, Lazura, all those kinds of horses as well in the market. But favourite is Fang Girl. The map, really important. We talk about this a lot, that this horse, that Pride of Jenni, she can just create issues for certain horses, and I think in particular Fang Girl. I think when Fang Girl sees Pride of Jenni in a race, in terms of when they're doing their maps and how far back she gets, probably not ideal scenario for her. Look, so she's going to lead. She'll be a loose lead, as you probably say quite often. Then there's probably 6 or 7 horses that you just don't know which one are going to take up the tack, because someone's going to probably have to do the work. I think probably from 11 it could be Lazura. And I'll be giving instructions to Matty Smith and his team about Idle Flyer, because I think with Pride of Jenni in a race like this, you don't want to be the one having to hunt her up. So you don't want to be that next horse, but you want to be the next one. You don't want to be too far back. And I think Fang Girl's struggled with that with Pride of Jenni, and that's why I'm against Fang Girl on Saturday, is that she just seems to get too far out of her ground when you're against Pride of Jenni. And I think a lot of horses suffer in that regard.
Yeah, and also I think with Fang Girl, Jules, is that she seems to dominate her opposition off that moderate to even tempo, where she can use that really good turn of foot. When she gets into fast run races, particularly in the last sort of 12 months, she tends to get found out to some respects. So I don't want to take too much away from her. The other thing that I want to mention with Fang Girl is that she really likes having James McDonald aboard. And no knock on Kerry McAvoy, he's right and well, K-Mac. But she seems to gel with J-Mac better than anyone. And J-Mac's obviously staying in Sydney to ride Autumn Glow. So there's also that negative for her as well. I agree with you. The one thing about Pride of Jenni, it's hard to bet in a race when she's there, because if she comes out and runs near her best, she probably wins this race. What I've noticed with her just in the last 6 or sort of 9 months this year anyway, is that when she can get her own way in front without someone coming at her, middle of the race or at the 600-metre mark, that's when she tends to be really effective. And she probably gets the chance to do that on Saturday. It's not going to be a swoopers track on Saturday. It's going to be sort of not necessarily a leaders track, but not a swoopers track as well. So I think she gets a chance if she's still with us. I'll tell you what I don't mind in the race is Benadryl. I think she's the fresh horse on the scene. I sort of thought last preparation she was running some really good numbers over in SA. Thought she probably should have won the Queensland Oaks. I love the fact that the stables sort of just kept her back this spring. They're coming here second up. So the query is she ready for a Pride of Jenni second up mile? That's the query. But she had a fair bit of work poured into her before that first up run. She went back in that weekend hustler in a leader-dominated day. Craig worried her nice and cute. He sticks with her on Saturday. I reckon she's a little sort of 1x2, 1x3 play. And I reckon there's $51, I think, floating around town for her in the Champion Stakes. Now, I'm not saying she'll beat Via Sistina. We know Via's not at her best, but go and have a look at the list of horses in the Champion Stakes on Saturday week and tell me how many other than Via Sistina in that first 6 or 7 are actually going to go to the race. And then ask yourself, if something flashes home and runs second or third in this, or maybe even wins at a bit of a boil over, would they not consider backing up 7 days later and take on the big girl?
It's a really interesting point, because I've looked at this horse and I've stamped a race for her on the 7-day backup, but it's not the Champion Stakes. And that's going to be, it's the Matriarch, for the 2,000 metres for the mares, which I think is going to be a hot race. I mean, I think a horse like a Lucy probably would be on a 7-day backup as well. Benadryl's in that mix. I think She's a Hustler, whose horse for Graham Begg, I think would probably run in that race as well. So it's going to be a hot race. But if Benadryl was to come and run a flashing second here, then they probably would have a crack at the Group 1 race instead of just picking off the mares. So fascinating insight there from you. Look, this is really important, I think, for the jockeys to get this right with Pride of Jenni. And Pride of Jenni is a really interesting one, because I think if she hadn't have gone to Sydney, I'd think, you know what, she's probably going to be hard to beat with how this race sort of evolves, because there is nothing really else that will go with her in that first sort of 400 metres, where we know she takes some time to get into her rhythm. But she's not the greatest from the gates. She can actually be a little bit slow away, but it's that, from the 1400 to sort of the 800 is where the damage is done for the Pride of Jenni, and it has been in the past. So she might be able to, but I just feel like she's just become a bit of a freshie. Her best performances are after a bit of a break, and I think going to Sydney doesn't allow her that opportunity. And then it creates, as we've spoken about, who's going to be the horse, and I'm hoping it's sort of Lazura. And the reason I'm hoping it's Lazura is because I'm really keen Idle Flyer. I think this horse just continues to improve every time it goes to the races. Would I like it to be a handicap and it's on 53 kilos, giving away, having 5 or 6 kilos less than Pride of Jenni? Absolutely. She's not in great at a set weight race here, but she's airborne. She's going as good as anything in the race, I think. I think the last performance, it was a fast run race. Her last 400, 200 was really good. She was great through the line. I just think it sets up really well, but I just want her to be hopefully on back of Lazura and not too far back. So you've got to get it right, Mickey D, but if he does, I think Idle Flyer is the winner of the Empire Rose.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.